Sir, I've really been touched today by the emotional testimonies of many of the people I know. I've been inspired so greatly by the Solace Group. It was extremely intimidating to be among such great men today. And I mean, it may have been nerve-wracking, but it was a pleasure, an honor, and a privilege to be with you all today. Thank you.
And what is your message to those kids in that school there, Taylor?
I believe that...
Your mother's a member of the group, isn't she?
Yes, yes. If all... trying to think of a way to say this. Sorry for my stumbling, or stuttering, but my first and clear, abrupt message is even when all hope fades and you're in a dark void, happiness can always be found.
This is some kid. So I'm going to sign this executive order, but this is pretty interesting when you hear these numbers. The state of Ohio's opiate epidemic is a crisis of unparalleled proportions with devastating, often deadly consequences. The most culpable substances are the opiate family, which includes heroin, prescription pain reliever medications, whereas these substances accounted for nearly 40% of the state of Ohio, 1,373 overdose deaths in 2009. 40% of the overdoses related to this opiate epidemic. So with this, we will have additional tools to treat. Betty Montgomery will stay involved. Your people here are terrific. We like them. I have strong feelings about them. Wonderful people. You got Aaron, your own neighbor from right down here in Adams County. You got the great sheriff. You got the chief of police. We got the judges. We got the township trustees. We got the treatment folks. Got the clergy. Let's win. Yes. Thank you all. If you have a few questions on this subject, we will take them, and anything off this subject we'll deal with outside.
Governor, there's a team that you're not talking about here. When the pill mills, suspected pill mills are raided here in Scioto County, it's the federal government that leads the way, the DEA and the FBI. The challenge when you talk to the chief, when you talk to the sheriff here, is that it takes so long. It takes 3-4 years to develop the case. Dr. Paul Volkman, one of the early busts here, what, 5 years ago? We're waiting for his trial still, 5-6 years later. So the DEA and the FBI has promised our local law enforcement men to get closer to the problem. Yet we hear that when they're going to set up a prescription pill task force, it may be in Cleveland. And there's no sense, you ask either of these guys why that might be in Cleveland instead of Southern Ohio where they promised to come. I think you need that team member as well. Can you help?
Yeah, well, absolutely. Betty, do you want to say anything about your conversations with the feds?
Let me just say that I've had an opportunity to working with your local prosecutor, who is very much committed, as is Mike DeWine, a former local prosecutor, to looking at crime and law enforcement issues at the state level. I've had an opportunity to speak to both the U.S. Attorney, who I'm going to be meeting with tomorrow, as well as his assistant, as well as the head of the DEA in this region. And I think you're going to see some grand collaborations. More than that, I can't speak to, except that I know that we are committed, and I know that Attorney General DeWine is committed to, and I will be committed to making certain that we have a task force that is responsive and timely. And I think you have a county prosecutor and your local law enforcement folks who absolutely believe that will happen, and we're going to try to make that happen ourselves.
Let me also say to you, sir, that we don't have 3 years, 5 years, whatever. I believe there are ways in which we can move quickly to impact this in a comprehensive way. I don't want to say any more than that, but we are aware of all the different tools that one must need to deal with this problem. And again, I can't turn water into wine, but I think you may have noticed by now, I break out of my shyness from time to time to get things done. And we don't have time for that. So we'll do the best we can, and there will be more things that you will learn. You know, there are more things going on than we're in a position to even talk about right now.
We contacted Governor Scott in Florida about the pill connection problem there. There are so many of these pill people, they're taking a $49 Allegiant Air flight out of Huntington. We're from right here in southern Ohio. Going down there and getting the Santa Claus sack and bringing it back.
Right.
Right now, the new governor in Florida, there's a hue and cry in West Virginia, Ohio, and Kentucky that he's not going to go through with the full preparation for shutting down some of those South Florida pill mills.
Can I just make it clear, I just spoke with the Attorney General, met with her yesterday, Friday, in Florida, and she is working closely with her governor. She said, don't believe all that you read in the paper. I believe Pam Bondi when she says that. I believe that you're going to see some real differences at both ends of the I-75 pipeline. More than that, we cannot speak to. But I would just simply say to you, stay tuned.
Yeah, and listen, I think that I haven't spoken to Governor Scott, but I'm going to see him in I think a couple weeks here, where and I'm going to be at the national governors and raise the issue as well. I think coordination is obviously really important, and there isn't anybody that once they become aware of this, and most people don't know about it. You know about it down here because it's taken your family members. If you talk to an average Ohioan around the state and you say, this prescription drug problem is an epidemic, many of them don't know. It has been an evil that has been undercover. And but look, I will say this. I think we have a lot of action today and a lot of activity today, and it's not just, more paper shuffling. We have some very good things that we believe will be impactful here.
Governor Kasich, Chuck Holbrook with Bulldog Nation News Team. I just want to say, sir, we really appreciate what you're doing today. I am a recovering alcoholic and addict, 5 years sober and clean, and I can speak for us that we are tornadoes that run through people's lives. And I think we need to be met with either the iron fist of the law enforcement or the compassion of God. And if these people do or do not want to make the decision to get help, they need to be met by that iron fist.
Well, I think that, the only thing I would say to you is the testimony of people who have been there is powerful to all of us. I think the one thing we want to do is to give people a chance to recover here, because what we find is they are the very people who end up in the prisons over and over and over again, driving up the costs. They're also the people who depend on Medicaid. Medicaid is the fastest growing item in our state budget. So, on one hand, and instinctively you want to say, well, just, lock them up. Well, we lock them up, they come out. We lock them up, they come out. We lock them up, and they come out. So we got to begin to deal with it in a comprehensive way. Got to make sure the public is safe. But the bottom line on all this is a comprehensive 360 plan. Law enforcement, coordination with the courts so the judges understand all of this, the treatment side of this, and all coordinated, taking the egos out and get everybody to work together. That's why, look, it's just a great thing to have Portsmouth and Scioto County at the forefront of this, because maybe this, not only the state but the country may learn, but we have to succeed. And succeeding is not, you go down, you got 90% recidivism rate on this. 90% recidivism. We can get this significantly lower than that. We'll be making great progress. But Rome wasn't built in a day, and frankly, these kind of problems should have been attended to a long time ago. But, we're getting there now. I think they feel less alone in this county. Am I right, Chief? You feel less alone. You're not fighting it all by yourself.
Governor, I'm from Brown County, 2 counties west. What do you say to the people that are going to read about this, and essentially their reaction is going to be, what about us? Yeah. When are we going to get help?
Well, one of the things, one of the things we've talked about is if we take all 400,000 and we put it in Scioto County, what do other counties say? I raised the issue today with the staff. And they have convinced me that if we can focus these resources and drive some significant progress, that's going to be the most hopeful thing we can do for the rest of the state. Now, I called a lady who coordinates with the Atom boards, because I want to make sure that we apply for every possible dime that we can get. Because my understanding is, and I think it's safe for me to say, there have been dollars left on the table that shouldn't have been left on the table had we had an awareness. Is that a correct thing, Orman?
That is correct.
So what we hope to do is to get the atom boards moving quickly, and I saw your executive director. It was the first thing I said when I walked in the room. We will figure out if there is a way to draw down more dollars in this fight, and this is where where I came right after the election, and I made a commitment. We're going to carry it out, but everybody's families are important. So we care about the people there as well, and as Aaron just said, if this can be the tip of the spear and we can make some progress here, it will help people all over the state.
So it's essentially a proving ground that if it works here, it'll work everywhere else.
Well, you don't like to say a proving ground. What we know is these activities are all going to yield success, but it will allow us to measure what really works and what doesn't work. And we have to move quickly. And, you got a comprehensive school problem. There is a school effort. There's nothing wrong with that counselor heading down to Adams County and meeting with the counselors down there. There's nothing wrong with the clergy going down there. I'm sure that Ed Hughes would like to meet with his folks and his colleagues and other people in Southern Ohio. I want to tell you that I love Ohio, but I love Southern Ohio too, because I think this has been an underutilized, underappreciated part of this state. You're going to figure out a way. I tell you, I just met with a Japanese delegation the other day, and they were telling me about all the economic activity in the state. And I said to them, have you thought about Southern Ohio? Because in Southern Ohio, you get hard workers, high productivity, and lower costs for your production. And we got a river out here. We'll get into this a little bit later. But look, Southern Ohio is important to me, because these are God-fearing, hard-working people that have not always gotten a fair deal. But you know what? When I look across the state, you would be amazed at how many other areas are just have underperformed, and they haven't seen prosperity touch them. My goal over these 4 years is to try to do everything I can to unleash the opportunity at prosperity. That's what this is all about. And jobs for our families. So let's see what we can score some victories here, and we'll be running in your way. And maybe there's some things that we can get done very quickly to help them help themselves a little bit.
Governor, you talked about doctors and pharmacists and their associations. How much responsibility do you think they have for this problem? Not a lot of reasons, but you did.
Well, I mean, if you have a medical board should be on the offense, not on the defense. And when you get 9.8 prescriptions in one county that has 78,000 people, I would think that might send a red flag up the pole. Now look, we give them a chance to respond. Maybe they're aware of it, maybe they've taken action. I don't really know, but we're sending them the letter and we're be expecting an answer.
9.8 million.
I mean, what, did I say it wrong?
9.8 million. 9.8.
What did I say?
9.8.
Yeah, 9.8 million. And I wasn't talking about the population in Scioto County. 78,000 and 9.8 million doses is it's breathtaking.
That's 120 pills per man, woman, and child.
One more question.